I sat in this bar. You know, one of those bars that you just have to go to. One of those places where you meet really beautiful and successful people. Yes, there were some. Although they were a minority, they dominated the place in a casual manner, flitting around, hugging other cool people, being casual with themselves. They seemed to know everyone, to be best friends with everyone, to just love everyone. Well, not everyone, of course, but at least all the other cool people. And then there were the others, the nobodies. Moderately attractive or at least not repulsive. They gathered in small, immobile groups and didn't flutter around like the familiar, truly beautiful people did. And then there was the sad remnant. The unfortunate ones who tried to hold on to their seats so as not to blend in with anyone else. They tried desperately not to draw attention to themselves because they felt like everyone could see at once that they didn't belong here, that everyone could see their true insecurities. Their fears were unfounded, no one noticed them anyway. They were just an obstacle that other, more confident people could overcome. They made the place seem less empty. Yeah, I was one of those people. No, not beautiful. Not even one of the invisible, mediocre group. I was one of the people who really didn't belong here. I took a seat at the bar and tried not to embarrass myself and look like I was having a good time. The problem was that I didn't really have anything to do except feel insecure. Absolutely nothing, and that was scary. You can't sit in a place like this and just do nothing. It would have been embarrassing if anyone had noticed that I wasn't doing anything, but thankfully that didn't happen. A few friends said they wanted to meet me here, and like a lamb I showed up, not knowing that this was one of those bars, and worse, my friends hadn't even shown up yet. So I clung desperately to the drink in my left hand and watched the crowd, trying to look like a sophisticated observer, like a knowledgeable person keeping in the background. Not like the shy guy I really was, afraid of being exposed. I really wished I had the looks, confidence, or charm to be one of them. The ones everyone wants to be like. Take this guy, for example. 6'2", blonde, tan, muscular like the Hulk, with teeth white enough to blind you for a while. And he made damn sure everyone here saw every single one of them, including the molars, all the time. While I really liked the comic book characters he resembled, I already hated him. Mostly because I couldn't find the slightest flaw in him. After all, you can usually always console yourself with finding flaws. Yeah, sure, she's beautiful, but you can already see she's a selfish bitch. Sure, he's muscular, but look at his teeth. Yes, he's handsome, but he looks dumb as a sheet of bread and his hair is already thinning. The real problem was really flawless people like this guy. He was just a dreamboat and even seemed witty and nice. Asshole. Why can't the genetic lottery be a little more fair, a little more evenly distribute the assets? And let's not even talk about what's under his belt. Any hottie seeing this woman would curl up in shame and change jobs. No, not a hottie. It wasn't a girl at all. She was quite tall and built like an Amazon warrior. No, it wasn't a beauty at all. It was a gorgeous, beautiful goddess. And she clung to him like he was a God-given gift to mankind. Damn it. I really hated him. I hated them both. Where the hell are my friends? I still felt completely out of place here, like I just had no right to be in the same room with these people. Did I mention that life wasn't fair? I guess you did. I looked around and saw that practically everyone was looking at them, not just the commoners, but the party people as well. These two were the clear winners of the Human Genome Lottery, and I asked myself what it would be like to be one of them, or at least to be around them. And then it got worse. Mr. Universe turned around and walked his gaze through the crowd. All the non-existent guys like me faded under his gaze. I wanted to disappear like a cockroach when the lights came on. Surely he'd notice right away that I wasn't comfortable here, that I'm all alone, that no one talks to me, that no one notices me, that I don't belong here. Shit, and he was right. Now he looked me straight in the eye, scanned my body with his light blue eyes, and started smiling. Bastard. I felt like I was doing something illegal by being here, defiling this fancy place with my nerdy, uncool presence. He rubbed the Amazon goddess on the shoulder, and the situation immediately worsened. He pointed in my direction, and though I desperately wanted to, I couldn't look away. God, how beautiful she was. Breathtaking. She looked at me, at him, at me again, and frowned. I was forced to agree with her. If I were her, I would have frowned too, seeing myself here. Thankfully, she soon turned away from me and started talking to her godlike companion, shaking her head. They even seemed to get into some sort of light argument, which surprised me a bit. After all, the Olympian gods weren't supposed to argue, were they? They were just supposed to watch the antics of us mortals with a contemptuous smile. That their lives were less than perfect gave me a small but definite sense of satisfaction. But that feeling didn't go so far as to make me give up my dream of trading their lives for mine. I averted my gaze from the pair of models and pretended to study the bottles behind the bartender again. It seemed like this way I'd be invisible until my damn friends finally saw fit to grace the place with their long-awaited appearance, and we could just escape to a more appropriate place. Excuse me. Wow, what a pleasant female voice. It really was so pleasant that I decided to give her the seat she was undoubtedly asking for before I even turned around. Damn. It was her. I felt the blood rush from my upper body and the ability to speak faded away. She sounded eloquent. My name is Tina. Ah. And you are? Ah, of course. You can have it. Now she looked embarrassed. The seat. You can have it. What seat? I asked your name. What? Your name. Surely you must have one, right? Thomas. Ah. You see, Tom. Everyone just calls me Tom. Yeah, Tom. I was still a little embarrassed by her presence. Good, Tom. We're making progress, I can feel it. You were even able to memorize and pronounce your name. She giggled slightly, and it was surprisingly cute. It gave her a decidedly non-threatening look. She seemed almost, well, human. Adorable, even. Stop it, I thought. Don't turn this into a ridiculous cliché, a crush or something. You see, Tom, we have a bit of a problem. A deep and very masculine male voice suddenly broke my trance state. Her companion had joined us unnoticed by me. Hell, everything around me was happening unnoticed while she was talking to me. I'm Ralph, Tina's husband. You see, I'm very fond of her. And she just turned 25. Why is he telling me all this, I puzzled. And surely you know how hard it is to find the right gift for your woman. Having no experience with real long-term relationships, I wasn't really versed in this, but prudently kept silent. Well, I kind of fell short. I bought her. No, let's just skip that. It was a ridiculous gift. And she got a little upset. Got pissed off. What? I was furious, Ralph. Really pissed off. Yes, all right. Pissed off. She was pissed off, really pissed off. And I kind of made her a promise. She'll get any gift she wants if I can arrange it. You know, financially, legally, and so on, you know? Okay. That was my only contribution to the discussion, and I desperately hoped I'd manage to hide my growing confusion. Why was this stranger telling me about his failure to pick out a suitable birthday present? Why was she looking at me almost expectantly? Hell, is this even the reality I'm in right now? Apparently not. None of this made even a remote sense. I expected that at any moment someone would yell, "Cut!" and make me look like the victim of a prank. And that's where you come into play, he said. What? Could this evening have gotten any weirder? Where were my buddies when I needed them? Now I was desperately searching for some kind of exit strategy. I finally found the flaw I was looking for. These people were clearly crazy. I chose my gift. Entertainment with another man, just once. I hadn't been drinking when she casually said that. Luckily. Otherwise, I would have spread my booze evenly throughout the house. I was still coughing when she calmly continued. Ralph, of course, had to agree. It was a desire clearly not beyond the limits he had set. Certain limitations, I thought. This woman was no brainless whore. But to speak in such a tone about the openness of marriage to extramarital fun was certainly odd. Yes, I had to agree, but I didn't have to like it. My stipulation was that I could pick the guy and that I could watch the whole thing if I wanted to. Really? My one-word answers probably led to the fact that they already thought I was a complete idiot. Of course, what did you expect? I certainly wouldn't let a man who could be any competition to me do it with her. Ah. You know, it's certainly not easy for me. But I know I screwed up, and that's part of my penance. But I'm not going to let it jeopardize my marriage. So I need a totally unattractive man. Unattractive, ordinary, not a charmer, not a keeper. Basically, no competition. What a strange story. But I finally understood why they were telling it to me, and frankly, hearing the undeniable truth told in that way was rather disheartening. You know, Tom, I agreed to Ralph's terms. I was even surprised he agreed at all. Well, I was in a good mood at the time. I'd had a few drinks and was really regretting her gift. Like I said, it's my punishment. And you deserved it for that shitty gift, honey. Anyway, I agreed to let him pick the guy and attend. But I also made a condition. The guy at least doesn't have to be stunningly ugly. Okay, but then what are you doing here with me? I exclaimed. She looked at me stunned and started laughing. She really thought it was incredibly funny, but Ralph and I knew better. Ugly was exactly how I saw myself. Tina? She was still giggling. Tina? What? He's serious. What? Come on, you're not model quality. And I'd prefer you to be a little taller. But at least you're not shorter than me, so that's okay. And yeah, you could use some extra muscle. But Tom, you'll do fine. I'm not too picky, it's just a one-off. You won't say no. You're not that ugly. Okay, but he's not handsome either. Apparently he is, Ralph. You don't usually like him, do you? What, no way. Whether it was true or not, it was really getting pretty insulting. But I put up with it and stayed anyway. Of course I stayed, since I had a chance to get closer to the woman of my dreams. But I still didn't allow the thought of doing it with her. It would be too much. I would just prepare myself for a huge disappointment. But just touching would be reward enough. Their motives were clear enough. She had every reason to present me as a vile creep to assuage her husband's fears. His motives were equally obvious. He certainly had no interest in praising a guy who was about to become his competition. These thoughts helped me retain some modicum of self-respect. But you'd do it with him? Well, he's certainly not a dreamboat, but he'll do. Okay, Tina. I think I can handle Tom entertaining you, even though it would still hurt. I know, and I really appreciate it. I know how much you love me and how strong you are. Tina, I still don't understand that. I should be enough for you. This guy was suddenly surprisingly insecure, even a little whiny. I couldn't blame him. If I were him, I'd kill myself on the spot. But I was still a little puzzled. Ah, guys. Not now, my dear Ralph. We can talk about this later. You have nothing to fear. I am yours and will remain yours. Guys. Yes, Tom? Asked Tina. What does all this mean? It means you're going to entertain her, dude. You're not going to make love to her. You're not going to romance her. No candlelight dinners. No hugs, no kisses. Just simple, quick, old-fashioned, you know? No. What do you mean? They were both clearly stunned by my response, and frankly, so was I. I'm not interested. Are you out of your mind? I inwardly reprimanded to myself. But it wasn't true. This wasn't going to work. Are you crazy? Or maybe you're gay. No, Ralph, I'm not gay. Have you looked at her lately? She's so beautiful. Yeah, I've noticed. But it's still not going to work out. At least not the way you described. Without romance? I'm sorry, how could that possibly work? So you need these things? Candles? Kisses? Cuddling? Man, that's disgusting. I offer you the opportunity of a lifetime and you come up with such unmasculine stuff? I'm sorry, I forgot, you're kind of a wuss. Yeah, I imagine you like that sort of thing. I didn't really know what I liked myself. Okay, I certainly wasn't a Casanova in my 24 years. He's right, Ralph. I don't love him and I never will, but this in the way you describe it won't work. Fine, do what you want, but I'll get it first. You'll get a sloppy second. Ralph, honey. It's a deal. It's better for you too. He'll be able to watch and learn. She only rolled her eyes. Okay, let's get this farce over with, shall we? This little caricature of a man poses no threat to me. I thought he was whistling in the dark. But I was glad he was being a jerk. It made things morally easier. I was a little uncomfortable having fun with a married woman. Okay, I'm in. But I'll be the leader, I boldly stated. Deal, she replied quickly, keeping a straight face. Great. Just fine. Now he was being sarcastic, and it didn't help that he was being nicer. But you won't be doing it in our bed. I'd have to ritually burn it later, and it's almost new. And where do you live, weakling? Just a few hundred meters from here. Shit. Wow, that's a thoroughly miserable man. He probably wished he'd thought of a better gift for her. Whatever he got her, his punishment seemed unnecessarily harsh. But then again, I didn't know them well enough to judge. We walked to my apartment, which was quite close by, in tense silence. I walked in front, and he kept possessively grabbing her. For such a virile stallion, he was being a little pushy. She was reciprocating, probably to appease him. We spent about 5 hours in the elevator after that. At least it seemed that way. There was tension in the air, with Tina and Ralph standing in different corners. No one said a word. Everyone was staring at the floor or the ceiling, as was the unwritten law in elevators. Direct eye contact with Ralph had to be avoided at all costs. Instead, I glanced briefly into Tina's gorgeous eyes, and she smiled tensely. She didn't seem to be expecting it at all, which didn't help calm my nerves. The situation was just weird. After an eternity, the elevator door opened, and Ralph and I tried to get out at the same time. He took this opportunity to roughly push me out of the way. I stumbled slightly, trying desperately to maintain a modicum of dignity and not fall to the floor. I barely succeeded, but I embarrassed myself by doing a strange dance with my arms and legs. Tina looked at me almost painfully, and Ralph smirked. If everything had gone right, I would have entertained the woman of my dreams by the end of the night, but at the cost of what little self-respect I still had left. We walked into my large living room, which had a stunning view of the city. The wall in question was one single huge window, and the whole room looked like it had been taken from some catalog of modern furniture. I wasn't obscenely rich, of course, but I had a very good income, a fancy apartment, and the ability to work from home. Except for the lack of female companionship, my life was pretty normal. Oh, wow. They were both quite impressed, though I couldn't understand why. Sure, it was a beautiful place, but it belonged to an unremarkable guy. They were lucky, beautiful people. They were standing by a large panoramic window, looking out at the city lights, holding hands and sharing what seemed like a romantic moment. I almost felt like an intruder in my own home. Anyone want something to drink? It was time to bring them out of their reverie. What? Yes, Tom, that would be wonderful. Maybe you have some white wine. Sure. Beer. As I brought them drinks, I tried to calm my nerves a little. I still had the impression that she was too beautiful to be around someone like me. I had a brief vision that the universe would simply collapse if I touched her, because surely some law of physics would be broken. And to be honest, I was also a little intimidated by her mere presence. Quite a nice apartment. You don't seem to fit in here. Thanks. I did my best to ignore his rude remark, which seemed like the best way to not give him any pleasure. Okay, let's start with me giving you a free lesson. She seemed unhappy with his behavior, but tolerated it, probably because she was well aware of how difficult the situation was for him. Okay, please follow me to the guest bedroom. No, boy. Not the guest bedroom. What? We'll take your bed. He wanted to hurt me in any way he could, but I didn't care. I was going to entertain his wife, the woman of my dreams, with his permission. I just had to remember that, and that was okay. Okay, follow me. My bedroom was much more impressive than the guest bedroom, so this choice suited me just fine. It had the same panoramic window overlooking the adjacent park. Since it was the upper level of the tallest building in the area, it still provided some privacy. And the room also had a huge transparent window under the ceiling. On a cloudless night like this, you could see the stars and moon from the bed. Tina was absolutely delighted. She just stared at the ceiling with her mouth open. It's so... Do you like it, Tina? Tom, I can't believe it. What's up there? Honey, we can start right now. I'm going to show him now. It's so beautiful, Tom. There seemed to be tears in her eyes. I love that window, and I always thought women would love it too. But I've never had any real women. Shyness, you know? Tina, hi. Are you here with me? We can start right now. Oh, yeah. Sorry, Ralph. After a few minutes of doing this? Okay, wuss, now it's your turn. He just rolled off the bed and went into the bathroom, ignoring her. I see your problem, I said quietly while he was gone. I love him, you know. Yes, I can see that. Tears stood in her beautiful eyes. I don't want to hurt him. I know. But you need to know. Yes. I need to know, she said in an almost desperate tone. It has nothing to do with that shitty gift. I'm not such a bitch about that kind of thing. I just need to know. I might not be the best choice. I don't have a lot of experience. You're my only choice. I'm surprised he even said yes. And you definitely have more experience than me. He's been the only one so far. Childhood friends? Yes. I sighed. A relationship like theirs was something special, and I was well aware that it could be ruined by what was about to happen, making me regret my part in it. But there was nothing I could or would do about it. She should have known. Tina, you should take a look at that bathroom. It's bigger than our apartment. Holy shit. He waited a few seconds for her to leave. Okay, dude, I'm leaving. I'm not going to watch this. No real man should have to look at something like that. She's all mine, and you can spend the rest of your life dreaming about this night, wishing you could do it again. But it's not going to happen. She's not going to like your skinny body anyway. You know, shit. He looked a little frustrated, just turned around and walked out of the apartment. Where's Ralph? He suddenly decided to leave. She looked a little sad. Yeah, that's probably for the best. I'd hate to hurt him like that. But I need to know, I really do. I understand. Okay, let's go to the bedroom. Yeah, we did it. You know, you're not ugly. I wasn't sure I should talk about my looks. It could really ruin my mood. Not ugly? Not at all. You're not as perfect as Ralph. He's probably the most handsome man I've ever seen. But you are far from ugly. On the contrary, if you do something about your looks, you can become quite attractive. I just let him make fun of you without objecting to appease him. Sorry about that. It's really hard on him. Yeah, I can imagine. I'm sorry, I just needed to say that. I really like looking at you. You have beautiful eyes. What? What was she talking about? This was getting a little absurd. My eyes were just, well, eyes. Now, please continue. This is better than I dared to dream. It's so... Oh, Tom. To my embarrassment, she started crying. Wow, that wasn't exactly what I was expecting. After we relaxed a little, her mood suddenly became a little somber. I thought I knew what was wrong. Tina, you shouldn't feel bad. I know. This isn't what you expected? No, it's not. That's the problem. It was better, much better. You really love Ralph, don't you? Yes, more than anything. And entertainment that's so good with someone else seems even worse with him? Yes. I guessed that. Guessed? Well, the only reason for your strange request, hurting someone you clearly love, and potentially jeopardizing your marriage had to be something very important. She only nodded. You clearly love him, which isn't surprising since he's a total dreamboat. So what reason do you have for wanting to have fun with someone like me? Having fun with him is obviously so bad that you're probably even doubting yourself. Yeah, she sobbed and collapsed to her knees. I tried to comfort her. Tina, the problem is definitely not you. You're a very good, very responsive lover. But that doesn't solve anything, does it? The man you love isn't the same man anyway. You know that for sure now, even though you had your doubts until today. She only nodded miserably. The problem is that he's a bit selfish, but that can be cured. You can teach him the finer points. The more serious problem is his outdated views on male behavior. I've already talked about that. Let me guess. He doesn't see a problem in your marriage, he's not crazy, and he doesn't need this weak counseling? Yeah, more or less. So what's your plan? I don't have one. I'm afraid he'll never change. Right now, I could walk away from him at any time if I got too upset. But I love him too much to do that. Once there are children in the family, the problem of leaving will be much higher. So I'm afraid that he'll care even less about my needs then. Oh, you don't have to worry. I don't think he could do any worse. She laughed briefly and bitterly. Yes, you're probably right. So what can I do? Nothing. Dream of this wonderful night with you. Accept the fact that the man I love is a lousy lover. Hey, this is confidential, okay? Yeah, sure. Don't worry about it. I'm not an asshole. I know. You know, Ralph's not that bad either. It's just that he was hurt and insecure today. Yeah, I guess that. So this is the end for us then? Yes, Tom. Thank you so much for that. It was like a dream for me. Me too. Thank you. I'll never forget this night. With tears in her eyes, she ran to the bathroom, cleaned herself up, got dressed in record time, and ran out of my apartment before I could find the appropriate parting words. I realized with surprise that my face was wet too. After that, I lay awake for ages, trying to realize what had just happened. She was extraordinarily beautiful, and she was certainly gorgeous in bed. But what surprised me was that she was so open, so sweet, so attractive. I was almost glad I wouldn't see her again. I would definitely fall in love with her without being able to get her, make her mine. She really was beyond me. She was perfect, just like Ralph, except for one annoying flaw. My plan was to try to treat the whole thing as a strange but very nice one-time episode that I would fondly remember for the rest of my life. But there was nothing in it that would really change my life or my outlook on the world. Of course, it didn't quite work out that way. The next morning, I went to the barber shop to get a decent haircut. I cultivated my nerdy, careless look, but realized it was just as ridiculous as Ralph's strange views on appropriate male behavior. Neglecting my appearance wasn't a pleasant quirk, it was just immature. By evening, I had a new haircut and wore new clothes. It was time for a change. Meeting Tina was a wake-up call for me. My self-esteem was still intact after the experience, and I was almost able to hook up with the girls I'd met twice in the city. Of course, before things got too serious, I managed to screw things up by hesitating too long or not finding the right words. Some of my insecurity may have disappeared, but I was still painfully shy. 2 weeks after my big adventure, I sat by the fireplace and stared at the flames that were the only light in my house at the time. My mood was somber. My attempts to push Tina out of my mind were mostly unsuccessful. All would have been fine if she was just beautiful. The real problem was that she turned out to be a sensitive, caring, and loving person. Damn! I kept thinking about our wonderful lovemaking, replaying it over and over in my mind and torturing myself with it. My beautifully moody mood was broken by the doorbell ringing. No, not now. I couldn't see anyone right now, especially not my friend Tim, who was the reason I was in this situation in the first place, not showing up at the bar on time. The damn doorbell rang again. Shit! I realized I should probably do something about it. I finally got my ass up off the floor and moved towards the door as it rang again. What had happened to Tim? He was usually too stoned to be in such a hurry. I opened the door and was about to scold him when something tall, beautiful, and definitely female flew into my arms, nearly knocking me over. All in all, the situation could have been worse. Don't talk, she said, breaking her own rule. Let's just go to your bedroom. I just nodded. She was right. Nothing needed to be said. Half an hour later, we were lying in bed in friendly silence. I felt completely at ease with her. I was no longer intimidated by her looks. We were friends. But something kept bugging me, and finally I had to break that relaxed mood. Tina, I don't feel comfortable with him being a cuckold. It's just wrong and not really my style. Yes, I feel terrible about cheating on him, too. I love my husband very much, you know? I know. He's been my best friend since I was a little girl. He protected me from bullies at school. Good. I'll never leave him. Good. Suddenly, she started crying. I have to leave. She practically ran out of my apartment again. This was becoming a habit of hers. I felt like an asshole for ruining her mood so badly. I wasn't too surprised to find her at my door again a week later. I was fine with that, since I wasn't thinking about anything else during that time. Most of the time, I just stared mindlessly out the window or at the wall, daydreaming about her. After a rapturous greeting, we made fantastic love again and again, talked about being uncomfortable. She praised Ralph again, and I again pointed out that I was not usually the type to entertain married women. This conversation was suspiciously beginning to resemble more of a ritual than the real truth. Her visits became more and more frequent until we were doing it almost every day. I still felt uneasy about the moral aspects of it, but I had no chance to resist her. She was completely distraught and cried a lot. We both knew it was wrong, but things developed into a full-blown long-term affair. Another thing that happened was that we just loved spending time together, outside of the bedroom. We developed a casual, relaxed relationship. Whenever she was able to spend time with me, that is, when Ralph was away for whatever reason, we would cook, watch movies, just cuddle or talk. We were never seen together in public for obvious reasons, but inside my apartment, we were almost like a happy couple. Now we were making lasagna together. The damn doorbell rang. "Open the damn door, slut." That voice was slightly muffled by the door, but we both knew immediately who it was. I looked questioningly into her eyes, and she nodded sadly. Then, with my heart in my sneakers, I opened the door. Tina was nowhere to be seen. She had hidden herself in the bedroom. "Ralph." "Tom." He looked pretty flustered. "Is Tina here?" "Ralph, what do you want here?" "Tina!" he shouted, ignoring my question. I was about to chase him away when, to my surprise, she appeared behind me. "I'm here." He immediately lost his temper. It was horrible to watch. I could see his spirit breaking right before my eyes. "So it's true?" He was almost crying, and for some reason that would be the worst. I really hoped he would spare us from this. I also hoped that Tina would deny everything, if only for his own sake. Maybe tell him some fairy tale about us just being friends. Yes. That statement shocked Ralph as much as it did me. What did it mean? Why did she want Ralph to know about us? Did she want to come clean? Did she want to force herself to break up with me in this way? Did she want to break up with Ralph, as unlikely as it seemed? "You're a bitch. A goddamned adulterous, traitorous bitch," he said in a strangely sad voice. "I know," she replied sadly. "You're a heartless, cheating, worthless bitch." I realized his mood was changing. This was a desperate man, and he was about to get seriously angry. "I know. I'm sorry." "Sorry? Sorry? What does that mean?" "It doesn't mean a damn thing. It doesn't change anything. What are you sorry for anyway? For entertaining him? For entertaining that worthless, skinny jester?" "No." "No? What does that mean?" "I'm sorry I hurt you." "You're a bitch. A whore. A vile, worthless whore." He was already genuinely screaming. I was glad the offices below my apartment were deserted at this time of day. "Ralph, I'm sorry I hurt you. But I'm not sorry I did it with Tom." She was surprisingly calm. Even though the meaning of their words was harsh, her words were soothing. She obviously empathized deeply and felt the pain of someone she loved very much. But she had obviously decided to be brutally honest with him. I respected that, but still doubted her wisdom. While I was still looking at her, something out of the blue hit me in the chin. It finally hit me, I thought, somersaulting backwards. It amazed me how long he could focus his attention solely on her. And since he would certainly never hit her, I was the most likely target from the start. As soon as I hit the floor, I saw her concerned face out of my worm eye. "I'm sorry, Tom." "It's all my fault," she said, while Ralph started kicking me. She then proceeded to physically stop him from hurting me even more. "Leave him alone, Ralph." "Why do I have to do this? Why do I have to do anything for you?" "Stop it, or I'm staying here tonight." Her voice remained eerily calm despite the chaos around her. I had to admire her for that. She was definitely the kind of person you wanted to have around in case of an emergency. Her words immediately stopped him. "You bitch, why should I care?" She walked over to him and took him in her arms. He started sobbing, and that was something I couldn't stand. Okay, him hitting me was almost expected in his world of male behavior. But to see a macho guy like him crying was really making me feel bad. "It's okay, Ralph. I love you. It's okay." Her voice was still soothing. "Don't leave me, Tina. Don't leave me. Please don't." He seemed so weak compared to this strong woman. No wonder he was afraid of losing her. "Tom, we're going to go to the guest bedroom, if that's okay with you." Ralph and I need to talk privately. Sure, I managed to mutter. I examined my face and was relieved to see that I wasn't seriously hurt. I was almost disappointed. It would help relieve me of a tremendous amount of guilt. I didn't like Ralph, of course, but what Tina and I were doing was clearly wrong. We were cheating assholes. There was no doubt about that. About half an hour later, they showed up again. Ralph again looked a little relieved and even seemed a little embarrassed. Tom, I can't see you anymore, Tina announced, pointing to my feet. I had already anticipated this, but to actually hear it was still unpleasant. I see. I promised that to Ralph. He wants to forgive me. We really love each other. I'll be the perfect wife from now on. Ralph nodded firmly in the background, which seemed a little unnecessary. Good. We need our marriage to heal. I need to work hard to regain his trust. I'll miss you, but we won't be able to see each other again. Never again. It's over. We're broken up forever. Okay, Tina. I understand all that. I still felt bad about it. Good luck with your marriage. I'll miss you. Be well. She walked away, trying to hide the tears in her eyes from Ralph. I wasn't feeling too good either. To be honest, I knew I was going to miss her terribly. I was in for a very bad time ahead of me. For weeks, I was in a gloomy mood and hardly left my apartment. Apart from housework, all I did was read, cook, work, and sleep. I was very depressed and realized that I had grown to love her a little. Even more than a little, I thought. My thoughts kept coming back to her. I missed her very much. I'll be honest, I was completely in love with a married woman. The worst-case scenario happened. 4 completely miserable weeks after our final goodbye, my doorbell rang. Tina. I was in shock. Tina. I was overjoyed. I wanted to jump up and do a victory dance just from seeing her again. She fell silent, putting her finger to my lips. As requested, I remained completely silent, even though it was difficult. I felt like I could burst with joy, like a big missing part of me was finally there again. To say the hour that followed was amazing is a massive understatement. I had hoped she would stay afterward to spend some relaxing time, but it wasn't what she had in mind. She looked at me seriously and put a finger to her lips. I prudently remained silent as I watched her shower, dress, and leave without a word. Weird, but it was definitely better than nothing. Our disgusting romance rekindled with renewed vigor over the next few weeks. I still felt awkward about the whole thing, but I was unable to confront her. She seemed to feel even worse, but obviously couldn't stop either. We were simply fornicating, and it was against the moral code of both of us. At first, our encounters were limited to wordless fun, as if that made cheating more acceptable. After a few encounters, that rule was dropped, and things went back to normal. If what we were doing could be called normal. This time, Ralph didn't seem to know anything, but that didn't make me feel any better. It had been about 2 months since our adulterous affair had resumed, and we had already developed a definite schedule. We spent most Saturdays together when Ralph played soccer and then hung out with his buddies afterwards. It was the best time as we could just spend a few hours relaxing together. But she also managed to carve out time for lunch breaks, usually 2 to 3 times a week. My life consisted of basically 2 things, spending time with her and waiting for her. The latter was beginning to seem agonizing. It was Saturday, and I was waiting for her around 10 in the morning. At 11, I was already anxious, and at noon, I was nervous. We had agreed that I wouldn't call her under any circumstances, so all I could do was keep my cool, feeling terrified. Did she want to end the relationship? Had something happened to her? I would never know. No one would ever contact me about it. Around 1 o'clock in the morning, the doorbell finally rang. I would have preferred her to have my key, but she said she couldn't risk Ralph finding it. I rushed to the door and saw her standing there looking sad and wistful, tears streaming down her beautiful face. Tina, come here, what's wrong? I hugged her and had to wait for the sobs to subside. We really hurt him. Oh shit. He knows. Yeah. So we have to break up with him again? No. No? I felt happy. Was this some sort of commitment to me? Had she really decided to break up with Ralph? He was furious. He wanted to leave me where I was. I was very sad, but I agreed that it was a decision we might have to discuss. He didn't expect that, and the answer made him freeze. He instantly lost his temper and started begging and pleading not to leave him. It was a terrible thing to do. This handsome, once proud man turned into a pathetic heap by an evil bitch, namely me, and her partner in crime, namely me. We looked into each other's eyes. Neither of us felt proud of what had happened. Yes, namely you, she smiled weakly. It was, well, let's just say I felt pretty damn guilty. The man I loved was destroyed by my selfish act. And then it got even worse. He actually offered to split me up with you unless I left him completely. Oh shit. I knew it was bad, but internally I couldn't help but feel elated. Perhaps it meant she'd have more time for me. Still, the nagging feeling of guilt wouldn't leave me. Yeah, shit. I asked him if he really wanted an open marriage. Does he want to have fun too? And if he's okay with me doing it with other guys? With other guys? A cold chill ran down my spine. Jealousy? Really? I'm a jealous cheater? How hypocritical is that? Relax, I won't. I just wanted to know what he wants. It seems like he wants to keep as much of our relationship as possible, hoping it's just a passing phase. I continue to live in our apartment with him. That seems to be a stumbling block. He suggested that he might agree to share me with you if he gets most of my time. What? Yeah, I know. He thinks he is. Let's not talk about it, please. I feel bad about that lie anyway, even though it's more of a lie through omission. Anyway, the main thing is that he doesn't want to be a cuckold. That was his biggest fear. I didn't know the word too well, and he explained it to me. It describes a husband whose wife is having fun with at least one other man. He said that this problem would be solved if we divorced. I really don't understand. He wants to save our relationship by divorcing me? Obviously, this is some male status issues again. Saving his pride may be the main point. Cuckold or not, it seems to be more important than staying married to me. I have no idea what he's thinking. I think he's just confused and stunned. I've heard about that. About what? About cuckolds. Everyone seems to have their own definition, and for a lot of guys, being a cuckold is the ultimate humiliation. For Ralph, being married seems to be a prerequisite for that awful title. So he probably wants to get rid of it this way without getting rid of you. In a twisted sort of way, it makes sense. I can't say I don't feel sorry for him. Yeah, that's pretty much how it's going to be. What, really? We can start dating openly? Yes. No. Not openly, of course. No one has to know about our affair or the divorce. Again, status and image in society seem to be important to him. Under these conditions, he agrees that we spend a limited amount of time together. He hopes that in this way our affair will lose its illicit spice and will soon dry up. How do you feel about this? It's just awful. My marriage has just broken up. I ruined my marriage to the man of my dreams. I see. I didn't like the way that sounded. But on the bright side, I bought more time with the other man of my dreams. Really? That sounded a lot better to me. Sure, dummy. And we spent the rest of that Saturday together in our usual relaxed way until she got back to Ralph's place late that night. I hated to see her go as I always did. But for some reason, it was even harder for me this time. Before, I was an affair and she was going back to her husband, back to her home. With the new arrangement, I felt I was entitled to some part of her, that I was almost as much a legal spouse as Ralph. But as pleasant as that thought was, accepting the fact that she was going back to his place for the night became even harder. Why can't she spend the night with me? Jealousy began to creep into my soul. The realization that I was a jealous cheater was hypocrisy in its purest form, and it didn't help one bit. We continued to live like this for several weeks. I had to give Ralph credit for bringing the matter to a divorce. He loved her deeply, but he didn't want to be a cuckold husband. Since he couldn't leave her or force her to change her behavior, he was consistent enough to see it through, even though Tina assured me it was hurting him terribly. It hurt her too because she still loved him and didn't want him to go through all of this. He was devastated, but still struggled to hold on to her. It was just as hard for her to watch this as it was for him. I was afraid of losing her again during this emotional chaos, but to my great joy, she continued to date me. She would spend time at my place on Saturdays and then go to his place in the evening for a night of clubbing. She still didn't want to appear in public with me so as not to embarrass or humiliate him. This annoyed me a little, but I soon calmed down when she offered to spend 2 nights a week at my place. Those nights were like a dream for me, but must have been horrible for Ralph. Sometimes there was awkwardness right after she came over. I realized that Ralph must have been out of it when he saw her leave, and the guilt ate her alive. But good lovemaking, as it turned out, always helps in a situation like this. You know, Tina, those overnight bags just suck, I said Tuesday morning as she was packing her things before leaving for work. Yeah, I know. Packing these things is a total agony, and I keep forgetting things. Look, there's plenty of room in my closets. What? See? I led her over to my walk-in closet and showed her how pathetic my few belongings looked. I still can't get over how huge it is. Yes, it's a lot of space, even for a beautiful woman's closet. Tom, do you want me to carry stuff into your apartment all the time? Yes. She smiled radiantly. Deal. Really? Wow, that easy? Sure. Wow. Yes. That was it. The first step to getting her to move in with me. But cute? What, she called me cute? My bloodstream was mostly filled with endorphins by this point. I don't even have that many clothes? What? My vocabulary was still a little limited due to the natural drugs in my bloodstream. I hardly have any clothes at all. Sure, what woman has? Smartass. Seriously, if I split what I have between your house and my Ralph's, I wouldn't have enough for either place. I'll need at least clothes to work at both places. She called her former home Ralph's house. This was getting better and better. Well, we'll have to do some serious shopping then. No problem. Tom, I know you're pretty well off. At least I assume you don't have any immediate financial problems, but I'm not so lucky. I just can't afford that many new clothes. I was still on cloud 7. What, that's the least of our problems, okay? She was starting to look a little annoyed. Tom, I really don't have that kind of money. My account is almost depleted. You have separate accounts? Yes, we always have. It was fairer that way. He likes to spend his money on completely different things. I see. How much debt do you have? Tom, I'd rather not say. It's a lot, and I'm not proud of it, and I'm afraid you... Stop it, I interrupted her. About 8,000, she admitted shyly. I couldn't help myself and laughed. Asshole. That's not funny. I never know if I'm going to get cash at the ATM. Sucks. Okay, give me your account number. I don't want your money. She looked stubborn and proud and beautiful. I had to figure something out right away. It's not a gift. What am I supposed to do? Remember, I'm not here for money. I'm not a whore. She was still looking doubtful. I had to be diplomatic. This could have gone horribly wrong. I'll wire some money and buy something with it. You'll just have to help me buy it. I need a full set of women's clothes, toiletries, cosmetics, everything. It's all going to stay here at my house. It's all going to be my property. You can just use it from time to time. Ah, her face lit up. This was a deal she could live with. Shopping on this scale was simply irresistible to her. And I expect some nice lingerie. Good. She was clearly resigned to the idea. And Tina? Yes? I don't want you to be in a tight financial spot. I'm going to transfer some more to help you with the bill. Not too much, just to help you survive, okay? I don't want you worrying all the time. Okay, she said, smiling shyly like a little girl. Damn, I could really get used to her. So many personalities in one woman. So intelligent, full of life, full of emotion. Hell, I realized again that I was completely in love with her. My thoughts were still in turmoil, so I just mouthed it. Tina, I love you. What? She was clearly stunned. What did that mean? Had I really ruined everything? It seemed like she was about to cry. I'm sorry, I mean, maybe I shouldn't have said that. You're a dumbass. Oh my God! She jumps into my arms and floods me with kisses. I have to go to work. Oh, okay. I expected any reaction, but definitely not this one. I'll see you tomorrow, sweetie. Honey? Really? And by the way, I love you too. And she was gone. I was still in shock. Had I really just said I loved her? I had known I loved her for a long time, but I had always avoided telling her for fear of chasing her away with such a commitment. Had she really not only accepted my confession, but replied that she loved me too? Wow. For the rest of the day, I hardly touched the ground. The next day in the afternoon, a radiant Tina came to my door. Let's go. Oh, hi, Tina. What a nice surprise. What exactly are you up to? I kept my face straight, feigning ignorance. Asshole, she playfully slapped me. Come on. I want to do some serious shopping today. Come on, you lazy bum. I tentatively followed her to the exit of the building. For some reason, I felt exposed, like in those dreams when you're walking down the street and suddenly notice you're not wearing pants and everyone around you is ogling. The problem was that I wasn't just dreaming it. Okay, I was wearing pants, but everyone was really looking at us. Then I calmed down. This is what it's like to walk with a stunning woman like her. I'm just not used to this kind of thing. But besides the stares of the people around us, something else seemed wrong. It was like I had left the safety of a cave and stepped out into the open, feeling vulnerable. I had never felt this way before when I left my building. Then it hit me. I was out in public with Tina. I was doing something that had been strictly forbidden for months. I was breaking a taboo. She, of course, was completely unfazed and was in a great mood. A few hours later, I returned with a fully stocked car and a euphoric Tina. Just seeing her like this made me incredibly happy. La 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 la, someone's gonna get lucky today, she hummed. I didn't really like her singing technique, but the words sounded fine. Are you staying the night? Sure. I want to spend the night with the man I love. But not with the only man you love, I thought, but prudently kept silent. As we stood in my kitchen drinking sodas, I had an idea. I rummaged through a drawer and wordlessly handed her the key. What's this? It's called a key. Smartass, she laughed. And what does that mean? You live here now. Suddenly, I hesitated. How would she react to this? Would I repel her with my insolence? Well, at least sometimes, I backed off. Sure, as much as you want. In any case, you must have a key. I had to stop before I started stuttering altogether. Okay. She just took it nonchalantly. It didn't really matter to her. To me, however, it was another small sign that she was slowly becoming mine. At this time, I had the feeling that she was 40% mine and 60% Ralph's. At least that's roughly how she divided her time between us. Gradually, we were able to fill her closet space, and she even began to give my apartment a bit of femininity. We managed to avoid the Ralph problem. That all changed a few months after she accepted the keys. She walked into our apartment visibly upset. What a bastard, she exclaimed. What's wrong, honey? Ralph. He's dating some bitch. Oh, what else could I say? Their divorce was final, and unlike her, he'd honored their wedding vows. He was absolutely blameless, as in the whole sordid menage a trois thing. I think he did it to make me jealous. And did it work? Of course it didn't. He could... Oh, shit! I don't know. I still love him, you know. I know, I replied sadly. I'm sorry this is so hard for everyone. But he doesn't deserve this. We do. I know. But sometimes he really drives me crazy. What if he loves her? What if she's the only one for him? That would be perfect, I thought, but managed to restrain myself. She spends nights at his house? I deliberately used the term at his place. Yeah, I think she does when I'm here. I wouldn't mind if you spent more time here at our place. Is that what this is? Our place? Yes. It's as much your home as it is mine. That's so sweet. But you know, I still love Ralph. I can't just leave him like this. Haven't you thought about safety? What? Why? I'm on the pill. Sure, but you don't know the woman. She can be a little promiscuous. That could be a health problem. Oh, I can see that. Shit. So he could endanger all three of us. Well, I can hardly ask him to. He's certainly only doing it to annoy me and make me jealous. I really don't want him to think it's working. Damn, it was really hard to hear that they were even doing this. Imagining it was enough to make me nauseous. But I had to remember what we'd come to. I was a lover and had no right to be jealous. I had to be patient and gradually make her mine. I knew from the beginning that it would be difficult, but I was willing to do whatever it took to realize my dream. She was spending more time at my place than his, and that was already a success. But Tom, I still have a hard time seeing him disappear into his room with that woman. In his room? Yes, we've had separate rooms since the divorce was final. Oh, wow, this just keeps getting better and better, I thought, as we walked to the bedroom for a little entertainment. The bed was like a magnet attracting us, and today was no exception. Tina, I love you. I know. I love you too. That's what makes this so hard. I love Ralph too. Yeah, I know. Tina, I'm perfectly happy with what we have, I lied. But I'm a little annoyed that you still don't want to see me in public, at least in the evenings. You still only go out with him. Tom, I don't do that with him anymore. But I do enjoy his companionship. And I think I owe him at least that much. Good. I see. I realized that my jealousy had reached new heights. It seemed that Ralph was now an affair, that she was going on dates with some other man. But I can do that with you too. It's not that I'm embarrassed to see you. You're not ugly, and what's more, you're a pretty attractive man. I know, but I'm not as attractive as he is. Don't make me lie to you. Ralph is probably the most handsome man I've ever seen. I know. Now I felt very low, even though it was the undeniable truth. Don't feel bad about it. I love you. Yeah, I know. Is it really necessary to keep doing this with him? Yes, if he's in the mood, I certainly won't deny him anything. I'm indebted to him, aren't I? Yes, I suppose you're right. But it's still unpleasant. It almost never happens anyway. I just accepted it like I always did. The long-term goal was important. But when she left our apartment to spend the night with her other man, it nearly tore me apart. I imagined all too well how Ralph must have felt when he found out about us. It hurt. Very painful. I spent the night terrified that she would choose him again. Afraid that he'd finally improve his skills, in which case I didn't doubt my chances with her. I imagined what they were doing at that moment. If they were in bed together, if she was whispering affectionate words in his ear. To make a long story short, I spent the night sleepless, full of fear and jealousy like I always did when she was with him. It really wore me out. By then I felt like a horny husband, and it was no fun at all. After a few weeks I couldn't take it anymore. She steadily reduced the number of nights spent at Ralph's to 1 or 2 a week. This reduced my pain a little, but it was still hard. I avoided imagining how Ralph felt, slowly losing her. But I had to remember my purpose, and sparing his feelings wouldn't help me. I felt confident enough to take a small risk. Tina, what do you think about making our relationship exclusive? We already have that option, don't we? Or are you dating someone else? No, I'm not dating. But you are dating. What? Oh, I see. Well, I rarely do it with him anyway. But if he wants me to, I'm there for him. I still owe him a debt of gratitude and I still love him. You knew what you were getting into from the beginning. I see. So it's okay for me to have a girlfriend on the side too? What? No. She looked angry, but quickly calmed down after realizing the situation. I don't. I mean, I don't know. See, we have to remember that we're officially cheaters. I was married to Ralph, and somehow I'm still his woman. I hurt him, even though he didn't do anything wrong. I think I still love him. Yes, I know, but it still hurts. Yeah, just like we hurt him. Tina, you're not hurting at all here. You have 2 men to choose from. That's not true. It killed me to hurt Ralph. And I feel like I'm cheating on both of you. I feel like an unfaithful whore all the time. Then be done with Ralph. You live here anyway. I can't. He still hopes we can get back together. And I still love him to some degree. Shit. Yeah. Over the course of a few weeks, not much changed. Sure, she spent more and more time with me in public and even introduced me to a few of her friends, which meant a lot to me. But nothing fundamentally changed. She still saw Ralph at least once a week. I felt like she was cheating on me, and it was killing me. It was time to do something drastic. Call me an asshole, but I decided to use every resource at my disposal to win her over. Maybe it wasn't fair, but there was too much at stake. I knew she would soon have 2 weeks of vacation. I guessed that neither she nor Ralph had the money for anything fancy, but she had started planning a few short trips with both of us. Tina? The mood was relaxed, and we were cuddled up on my couch watching some nonsense on TV. Yeah? She replied absent-mindedly. You have 2 weeks of vacation coming up. Yeah, starting next week. Well, I've booked a little trip for us. Oh, you've already booked something? Shouldn't you have asked? The Maldives, I interrupted her. Yeah, no fair. What? She looked incredulous. 2 weeks. A water bungalow. Nice resort. All inclusive. Wow. She tested the stability of my ribcage with the next hug. I can't believe, Tom. You're crazy. I've always wanted to. Really? The Maldives? I know, you've mentioned it before. I was feeling a little smug. It was definitely working. The next night turned out to be, well, interesting. In fact, exhausting. Did I feel like I was buying it? Yeah, maybe a little. But was that stopping me? Absolutely not. This was very important to the rest of my life, and I wasn't going to play unfair. I wanted to win the woman I loved, and I was determined to do whatever was necessary. Tom, I'm so looking forward to this. Oh. What? I was planning to go to Hamburg with Ralph to visit his sister. I see. Maybe I should cancel. Don't you dare. We'll just visit her later. It's just going to be a little hard to sell this to Ralph. These 2 weeks are going to be pure terror for him. Yeah, I know. I managed to look sympathetic. But somehow she had managed to get the news to poor Ralph. I was glad I didn't have to be present for it. The night after her conversation with Ralph, she unexpectedly spent the night in our apartment instead of his as originally planned. I didn't dare ask about the details. And even better, she didn't get back to him until after we left for the Maldives. He may not have been happy, but I certainly wasn't. The vacation was fabulous. I was the envy of all the men present. Of course, we enjoyed amazing food and spent a lot of time diving, snorkeling, and the usual insider stuff. We cozied up in a cushioned chair on the deck above the sea, the warm wind playing with her hair. The situation was absolutely perfect, and I chose this moment to possibly ruin it. Tina, I've been thinking. Yeah? How about we spend all nights at our apartment? Of course, I like it much better there, but what about Ralph? I really want us to be a couple in the normal sense of the word. Exclusively. I want you for me, just for me. She looked at me with an unreadable expression on her face. Oh, Tom, honey, I'd like that very much. But it still sounded a little unsure. Just do it. But what about Ralph? You have to set him free. He needs to move on. You're blocking his future. She looked thoughtful. Maybe you're right, she replied after a while. It's better for everyone. This constant pain has to stop. You have to stop leading him on. He's still hoping to get you back, and that's just cruel. To my relief, she nodded. I know you want to gently let him go. But you're only prolonging the pain. You're right. It looked like my gamble had succeeded. I was afraid she would agree to end his suffering, but would do so by leaving me. Instead, she suddenly started crying. But this is so hard. It's really the end for Ralph and me. We wanted children. We wanted to grow old together. It's so cheap to leave him like this. Just for fun? Oh no. Don't ever think that. I'm not here with you just for that. You're so much more loving than he is. So caring, so compassionate, so sweet, so mature. I'm not that shallow. I love you for who you are. I love spending time with you. I need you to be there for me. Me too. Good, Tom. From this day forward, you are my man, my only man. You have exclusive rights to this body and to this soul. Sure, it sounded corny, but there were tears in her eyes, which made it very believable. I too was touched, and in a broken voice was able to just say yes without embarrassment. Fortunately, I wasn't present for the final confrontation with Ralph. I really didn't envy the poor bastard. Slowly losing a woman like Tina for such a long time must have been sheer torture. She told me later that it was truly awful. He cried, begged, got on his knees, promised never to see another woman again, claimed he never had anything with her. The saddest part was that the latter was even believable. She returned, still deeply troubled. No, nothing happened that evening. I just hugged her and helped her through her bouts of crying. So I won? Yes. Was it that easy? No. The problem that she still loved the other man and that we both started out as cheaters remained. Morally, our relationship was shaky. But most importantly, there was still some suspicion. Was she seeing Ralph behind my back? Did she miss him? Could it be that he was able to turn on her again, now that instead of a cuckold husband, he was a schemer? So I kept an eye on her from time to time and discovered, to my horror, that she was indeed still seeing Ralph. But I didn't have access to his apartment, and I couldn't follow her all the time. If she found out I was even doing it, all hell would break loose, and I might lose her again. So my options were limited, and all I saw were a few not-so-good lunch breaks that weren't even followed by kisses. And yet the fear and jealousy remained. What if she cheated on me with this guy? The thought was unbearable. That fear intensified when, by coincidence, I met people who happened to know her and were convinced that she and Ralph were still a couple. I realized that the situation had completely changed. We were now living together as a couple and Ralph was a threat to our relationship. I constantly lived in fear that his abilities in bed might improve if he had enough time and motivation. If he became as good as I was, I feared she wouldn't need him anymore. He was prettier than me, bigger, she admittedly still loved him. Perhaps these thoughts were irrational, but they were still killing me. The karma credit plan was in full effect. The situation wasn't the best, but what could I do about it? Confront her? And risk her going back into Ralph's arms? No. Better not rock the boat. She didn't know I suspected her of cheating on me, and so far life was fine with me. At least it was acceptable. The problem was that Ralph had tried a similar denial strategy when they were still a couple, and it hadn't worked for him. It was driving me crazy. After weeks of growing insecurity, I almost couldn't take it anymore. Tom, honey, what do you think about having a baby? Wow, that was unexpected. Ah, Tina, I don't know. What, is it because we're not married? Tom, I'm willing to change that anytime you want. No, it's not because of that. It's because you're still dating Ralph and I'll never know who his father is. That was it. The cat was out of the bag. I rocked the boat and anxiously waited to see what would happen next. She just looked at me shocked and ran out of the room. Damn. Had I really lost her? She came back a few minutes later with tearful eyes. I'm so sorry, Tom. Of course I'll stop seeing him. At least without you. Without me? I don't like guys. What, you suspect me of still doing it with him? Well, yeah, sort of. You can't be that stupid. I promised you to be yours alone, and I intend to keep that promise. Yes, I've seen him a few times at lunch. I think I owe him a debt of gratitude. But I am loyal to you. Somehow I believed her. I'm sorry, Tina. But you have to admit that given our history, yes, I'm a cheater. I have to live with that stigma. But the truth is, I never lied to Ralph. Sure, I didn't tell him about meeting you, but I never told him a direct lie. And I'm telling you now that I'm being faithful to you. I felt like a fool now. But at the same time, I felt like the weight of the world had been lifted off my shoulders. We were both still paying the price for cheating on Ralph. So you can stop seeing him? Of course. Do you think I should? If you can, why haven't you done it until now? I should have assumed you were still in love with him. Tom, honey, Ralph and I have been together forever. We and everyone else thought we were made for each other. Our future together was never in doubt. We were always friends, we took each other's kisses, we were destined to grow old together. I always thought I loved him. Turns out I did to some extent, but it wasn't until I met you that I learned about real, true love. And it's not just what you think it is. With Ralph, I have a kind of companionship, a friendship, and affection. I like him, and you could say I love him like a brother. But with you, I feel a deep, real love. So of course I can stop seeing him if I have to. You win. I kept seeing him more out of obligation than out of love. I think he loves me as deeply as I love you, and I tried to let him down gently. I see. Wow, I'm relieved. Don't you think you're making things even harder for him that way? He's probably still hoping to get you back. It's probably torture for him. Yeah, you're probably right. I even knew about it, but I was too weak to break up with him completely. Good. Though it was probably inappropriate, I smiled widely. She was finally and truly mine. I felt muscles in my body relax that I didn't even realize I had. A sense of satisfaction swept over me. Tom, is it okay if I see him once in a while? Without sex, of course. And to have you present when I do, she quickly added. Given your history, I'd rather you didn't. I admit it would make me sick, but I'll understand if you feel you have to do it. Thank you so much for letting me do this and forgiving me for secretly dating him. Well, what else could I do? In our group of serial cheaters, I could hardly blame her for such a small thing, could I? In the weeks that followed, we pampered each other to the fullest. We bought each other little gifts, brought each other coffee and bed, basically whatever we needed. My motivation was to make sure she never looked at Ralph again. Her motivation? I didn't know. Guilt, maybe? To air her grievances? To make sure I didn't arouse suspicion? Whatever it was amusing for a while, but also a little too much. After a while, we both slowed down a bit, and our relationship relaxed into a stable, long-term relationship. We were sitting at the breakfast table on a beautiful Saturday morning. Yes, Tina, I said out of the blue. What? I agree. Honey, what are you talking about? You proposed to me, remember? Her face lit up like the sun. Really? You're marrying a cheater like me? Tina, there's no need to bring it up again and again. We both don't have the best history in that regard. God, how you won't regret it. I just grinned like an idiot. I'll stay true to you, you can rest assured. I know, but I didn't. That was probably exactly what she'd promised Ralph. I'll make sure you don't regret it, Tom. 6 years and 2 kids later, I still haven't regretted it. She still spoils me as much as I spoil her. But I'm no fool either. Without discussing it, we made the tracking feature on our smartphone available to each other. I still discreetly check her email and phone from time to time. So far, she has proven to be faithful. Our marriage started with infidelity, and that flaw will never go away. Officially, Ralph has come to terms with the situation. To my dismay, he visits us often with his new wife and their young son. We try our best to be cordial with each other, but there is a certain tension in the room when he is around. I also see secret longing glances in her direction, and they bother me greatly. Keeping in mind our shared track record, I do my best to keep her happy. The fact that she wasn't happy with her life led to her leaving Ralph, and that's a situation I wouldn't want to be in. So I'm under a lot of pressure, but as long as I have her, I can live with it. Despite the nagging and probably unfounded doubts, I'm finally starting to believe it. I wrested the woman of my dreams away from a much more attractive man, but I did it at the cost of my moral standards. Was it worth it? Hell yes. Thanks for watching, I hope you enjoyed it. So subscribe to my channel and watch the next video.